Minutes to 9 here on the program. Can you believe, and I don't know if it's changed, but I saw an article it was a couple of hours ago saying that the Powerball winner, the person who has won 232 million rand by just spending 22 rand, has still not come forward. So if you have a ticket, and apparently it was in the Western Cape area, apparently it's Cape Town or somewhere there. Where was it? Western Cape, Goodwood. I mean, come on, we can't narrow it down more for you. You have won 232 million rand. Please check your ticket, because apparently no one has claimed that money. So this is just insane. Anyway, I hope you're watching the show and I hope you're checking the ticket, because gosh, you gotta check. You never know. Your life is going to change dramatically. Okay. All right, now this all happened on the eve of the budget. That was when it was announced, and I was making a joke that we were hoping that our finance minister won a massive budget so that he could deliver a big one on Wednesday. It wasn't as big as we hoped, a lot less taxes collected, but Twitter had a lot to say about this. So it was the maiden budget speech of Finance Minister Tito Mboweni. So we've brought you some of the action from all of the suits, the opposition parties, civic organizations, but what did you and I and other ordinary South Africans have to say on social media about the budget? So joining us now, we've got Matiba Sibanyoni, who is the senior multimedia producer here at the SABC. She's part of digital news to give us a little bit more insight. Good to see you. Welcome.
Good to see you too.
So, I mean, okay, I started off with a Powerball. Yeah. That must have been crazy as well. Yeah. People must have been speaking about that. I saw that trending for a long time.
Yes, I wish I had won it.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I was thinking, what would I do with 232 million rand? I don't know. I'm still dreaming about it. But someone has that ticket. They better claim it. Otherwise, it's going to disappear.
I hope they do.
So let's talk budget. How did we do? I mean, was it sort of a lot of Twitter reaction to it?
Yes. So as you said, throughout the week, actually, even the weeks building up to the budget speech, we had all the details, data, and the actual hard numbers. But on social media, we had all those, but also a different conversation from voices that you wouldn't necessarily hear coming from mainstream media on a daily basis, you know. And so on the days leading, we start looking at the numbers, the sentiment, how people are doing. And so I've got the numbers for you.
Brilliant. Let's have a look at them.
On social media. So as you can see there, we've divided this into different sections when you look at it. Worldwide map. Obviously, it was spoken most about in South Africa. Yeah. This is data over the last 7 days on social media. This is across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as blogs and news organizations.
Okay.
And then this was spoken about in India, United States, Great Britain, as well as Kenya. And those are just the top ones.
So those are the big ones looking at it. It's quite surprising that India is sort of right up there.
Yes. Although you must understand that there are times when some people may not have necessarily been speaking about specifically the South African ones, but most of them come from South Africa.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And it was great because on social media you could see people tweeting from all over the world saying, Tito, we are all watching online, streaming it. So you had people coming from all over the world tuning in online as well as on TV and social media to find out what's happening.
Yeah.
And then there's the diversity issue. You know, for a long time, there was this diversity question online. Someone was speaking about gender, race diversity, and we looked at how many people were talking about the subject, and it's still mostly men and fewer women talking about the subject. And mind you, this is people who are specifically tagging the tag Budget 2019.
Okay.
So we had more men using that tag, which was the trending one, the one that was mostly used.
I suppose we can look at the finance industry then.
Yes.
One could maybe assume that, you know, it's sort of your guys in suits, your business people, your economists, your analysts, even though there are a lot of women, but I suppose it's still male-dominated when you look at the industry.
Exactly, and it goes back to women and their voices. Are they being heard enough? But later on, we talk about diversity in a different sector with a tweet from Maiden. You'll see that later on. And then the sentiment, most people never really know whether or not this was positive, negative, or neutral. And if you look at that graph, you'll see that most of the comments were actually neutral.
Yeah.
This is, mind you, within the last 7 days, 77.59%. And then you had just over 7% negative, and then just over 14%.
Is it, can we positive. Sort of, I mean, because that for me is a very interesting picture about the neutrality, negative and positive, because this was a very difficult budget. But what are we working on? You're saying, is this measuring every single person who tagged budget 2019?
Yes, over the last 7 days.
And I mean, what are we talking about? How is this millions of tweets, thousands of tweets?
Yes, it's millions of tweets.
Millions of tweets that we're dealing with.
Yes.
So that's quite an interesting picture.
It
so
is
people
interesting.
they're not too, it wasn't taken up too badly, was it?
No, and you realize that when it comes to budget specifically, not everyone is clued up about the actual numbers and the data and the fiscus and all of that. People just want to know, will I be able to afford to go to work and use petrol? And with South Africans specifically, we use humor like nobody's business.
Oh my gosh.
Where it doesn't matter how bad the situation is, you'll always find someone who comes up with something funny.
Yeah.
And then based on the overall budget, these are the biggest words that came out of Twitter. People using Mboweni, obviously because of Tito Mboweni, budget minister. And then Eskom came up a little bit over there. So there were people talking about Eskom, but the main words were actually those ones that you can see.
Did Kigali come up?
Kigali didn't come up as one of the main ones, but in the other tweets, it actually did.
I'm sure it did. That's the minister's favorite place in the whole wide world.
Exactly.
So there was a cute photograph. Now we can move over to that photograph there. Kaya Dlanga, when this comrade heard that whiskey was going up by 4 rand, look at that.
Yes, so those are some of the funny ones that came up. You know, some people really just care if I'm going to afford a drink after this. And so you had a whole lot of funny ones coming out. And if you look at the next one, someone also mentions Kigali.
Yeah.
And so you had a whole lot of funny ones coming up. People making fun of the ministers.
Yeah.
People making fun of a whole lot of issues and what people are going to do now if you can't afford petrol anymore.
I often wonder if I don't remember Parliament getting this much attention. You know, ever since in the last couple of years, it's just become more and more interesting that people have tuned in, they're commenting, they're understanding, they're watching, they're listening.
Yes.
I'm not sure that in previous years people really cared about the budget and all things finance and state of the nations. Now suddenly people hang on to every word.
Yes, people are paying attention. People want to know what is going on, and they want to be in tune with what it is that is happening. And this is one of the funny tweets as well, you know, where people were saying that the economy would do great if there was like 150% increase on all of the things that people are addicted to, you know, because they would pay. You'd want to have that drink.
Look at that little guy's smile.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And the memes that people use. South Africans have got, honestly, we've got a sense of humor that you can't find anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
So I'm also seeing that the diversity. I think that's quite an important. Okay, well, this is what you were saying about Professor Modensela. What are we saying here?
So there was a big side conversation about diversity. There was this picture posted by Tito Mboweni as they were walking into Parliament.
Yeah.
And you see more women there. Professor Modensela tweeted about it, basically saying, this is great, we've got more diversity. There are more women with him in the picture. But then the other side conversations were about the more black people, the less white people. And so race issues, Indian people, all kinds. So there was that small conversation happening as well. As in, yes, we've got diversity in terms of gender, but we have diversity in terms of race. And that's a conversation that I think will go on in South Africa for a long time.
Yeah, it'll never
especially
go
on
away.
social media.
And then hello.
Everybody was wondering, what is the whole deal about the Elo? Why are they carrying flowers? Tito Mboweni actually did explain why. He said that Trevor Manuel had this tradition of bringing a flower to explain, basically as a symbol of the state of the economy at the time, you know. And so he brought this basically saying that it is resilient and we need to nurture it if we want it to grow. There was a whole part of the speech dedicated to that. But then the comments and the conversations were like, so he's handing this plant over to Parliament. Who is he giving it to? Who's going to water it? Who's going to take care of it? Is the speaker going to take care of it? And so there was all of that. Then there's Kigali. This goes back to, I remember the time the minister went to Kigali and he was tweeting everything positive about Kigali. Oh. And so almost every second comment about almost anything he says is, okay,
with Kigali.
Does this relate to Kigali? Is it good because it's related to Kigali? So you saw Kigali coming through as well.
It's fantastic. Listen, we have to look at the humor of it and see how South Africans took to the budget as well. I know it was on Wednesday, but it's always nice to end the note on, or end the week on a positive and fun note. So thank you for talking to us. Thanks for coming in. I hope you can visit us more often. And there's another one, just a reminder that, dear God, open the eyes and ears of our leaders. Let them do 4 things. The state must own 40% of mining companies, start a state bank, implement appropriate land, use planning, and create a sovereign wealth fund. What is so difficult? This is radical economic transformation from our minister, Tito Mboweni. Wow, and that's all I heard coming from Sakina. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. I head of one of our producers from Multimedia, senior multimedia producer, Matiba Sibanyoni, talking to us. Let's take a break. See you after this.